Hi Year 4, a different backdrop today. I'm in school teaching Year 6 at the moment, which is very exciting. Bit of an eye-opener, if I'm honest, but very exciting nonetheless. So I thought I'd just sneak out quickly into one of the little rooms off the corridor and read the next part of Journey to the River Sea. So we're on chapter 19. If you remember the end of chapter 18, we had smoke and flames now rolling and licking through the bungalow. So really excited to hear what happens next. Sorry Moz can't be with me. I have to leave him at home sleeping because he has to stay up all night chasing all the spiders. So anyway, without further ado, chapter 19. Miss Minton woke in a four-poster bed and found herself staring at a picture of a Russian nobleman on a sledge being chased by wolves. She was lying in a spare bedroom in the Kaminsky's house. Her head ached, for she wasn't used to wine, and a lot of it had been drunk the night before at Mademoiselle Lille's farewell party. The Kaminsky's governess was returning to France on the following day, and Miss Minton had agreed to come and work for the Russian family and teach Olga and Maya. In spite of her aching head, Miss Minton was content. Maya would be happy here in the easygoing and friendly house, away from the ill temper of the twins and their parents' strangeness. She had said nothing to Maya until Mr. Murray had given his permission, but yesterday his cable had come. He had not only agreed to let Maya go and live with the Kaminskys, he had arranged to send Maya's allowance direct to Miss Minton at a different bank. It seemed that the British consul had already warned the old lawyer that the Carters were in trouble. Miss Minton got up and dressed. Downstairs in the breakfast room, the Countess was sitting over a big samovar, pouring out glasses of steaming Russian tea. Olga was beside her and got up to curtsy, but Mademoiselle Lille was still in her room. She's having her breakfast in bed. She is a little tired after last night, explained the Countess. Miss Minton smiled. Mademoiselle Lille was probably very tired. She'd been so sad about leaving the Kaminskys that she'd comforted herself with an amazing amount of wine. Nothing less like breakfast at the Carters could be imagined. The light, luxurious house, the friendly servants, the Kaminskys themselves. Sergei had already left. He now went to the cadet school in Manaus. To teach only Maya and Olga would be a delight. But I must hurry back, said Miss Minton now. I don't like to leave Maya too long with the twins. Professor Glastonbury has kindly agreed to store my trunk, so Maya and I will be able to come down on the rubber boat next week. No, my husband will send a boat for you, said the Countess. Miss Minton had not planned to spend a night at the Kaminskys. Mademoiselle Lille had begged her to stay for a farewell party, but Miss Minton had stood firm until the Count had pointed out that if she stayed, she could sign a contract with his lawyer the following morning, naming her as their new governess. Knowing how little the Carters were to be trusted to pass on messages, Miss Minton had sent the note for Maya to Furo, and one of the Count's servants was ordered to take it to his hut. Good news, Miss Minton had written. I'll tell you everything in the morning. I'm staying overnight at the Kaminskys because I have some business to see in the morning. I'll tell the Carters I'll be back at midday, but tell them nothing else. Furo would make certain that Maya got the note. She'd now seen how the Indians guarded Maya since Finn went away. She was rolling up her napkin when there was a commotion at the door, and the Count, who had been supervising the load of one of the ships, came quickly into the room, followed by Professor Glastonbury, already badly out of breath. The Count went straight to his wife and spoke to her hurriedly in Russian, but Miss Minton caught the word Carter and had risen to her feet. Oh, my dear, the Countess turned to her. It's bad news, I'm afraid. There's been a fire in the Carters' bungalow. The house is destroyed, but everyone's been rescued, I understand. They've been taken to Municipal Hospital. Miss Minton was already by the door. Every trace of the colour had vanished from her face. The Count's carriage is waiting to take us to the hospital, said the Professor. Miss Minton turned to the Count. Thank you, she managed to say before following the Professor out into the street. The twins were crying. Their beds in Ward C of the hospital were close together because the ward was very full, and they lay on their sides facing each other and gulped. It's gone, it's just gone, all of it's gone. There's nothing left, not a single Milray. The nurses had first been very kind. Neither of the girls was badly hurt. Beatrice's hair was singed and she had a small burn on her leg. Gwendolen had fallen on the gravel path as she ran out of the house and had sprained her ankle, but there was always shock and smoke inhalation to consider, and for a while a nurse sat by their beds and tried to comfort them. Your mother's safe, she's going to be all right, she's in the next ward, you can go and see her. But the twins weren't crying for their mother. It's our money, sobbed Beatrice. The money for the reward, 20,000 Milray each, and it's all burnt. Perhaps you'll get it again from the insurance? But the Carters, of course, were not insured, and the twins went on snivelling until the nurse became impatient and walked away. Mrs. Carter was in the next ward. Her arm was bandaged and she'd inhaled a lot of smoke. Even so, she found time to complain about the way the hospital was run, the lack of hygiene, and the patients whose young children were allowed to visit them and run all over the ward. "And there's a fly on my water jug," she said fretfully. 2, in fact. She was still complaining when a smartly dressed Englishman came into her bedside. He was the British consul's assistant. "Mrs. Carter, the consul has asked me how we can help you to return to England. There seems to be little future for you here." "You mean you'd pay our fares?" "For you and your daughters, yes. Do you have anyone you could go to in England, relatives or friends?" Mrs. Carter frowned. She did not actually seem to have any friends. Then her face cleared. "Lady Parsons in Littleford. She would take us in, I'm sure. She's my mother's cousin. Well, almost. Her address is Grey Gables, the Promenade, Littleford-on-Sea." The young man wrote this down. Then he said, not meeting her eye, "Your husband won't be returning to England just yet, I'm afraid." And as gently as he could, he told her that when he came out of hospital, Mr. Carter faced a trial and possible imprisonment for fraud and embezzlement. Just as he had cheated at the bank in England, so had he done out here. It wasn't only Gonzales to whom Mr. Carter owed more money than he could ever hope to repay. Miss Minton ran up the hospital steps, and the professor, mopping his brow, ran behind her. "The Carter family," she said at the desk. "The girls from the fire, where are they?" "Ward C," said the receptionist. They hurried up 2 flights of stairs. The twins were still whimpering, but they stopped to stare at Miss Minton. "You're not badly hurt, I understand," she said. "I hope you're not in pain." "Our money's gone," sniffed Beatrice. "Yes, but you might have lost your lives." And then, "Where's Maya?" The twins shrugged. "Daddy went back in to find her. We don't know where she is. She didn't come in with us." Miss Minton's heart began to pound. The professor put a hand under her arm. "I'll go and ask the sister." He made his way down the corridor and came back with a set face. "She said there were only the 2 girls and their parents in the ambulance. She didn't know there was another girl." Miss Minton took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "But Mr. Carter went back for her, the twins say. She must be there. Must be here." The sister had come out of her office to join them. Now they all hurried to the men's ward. Mr. Carter's burns were serious. His hair and eyebrows were singed, his face was swollen, both arms were bandaged. He lay still with his eyes closed, but Minty had no thought to spare for him. "Mr. Carter, where's Maya? Your daughters say you went back for her. Did you bring her out safely?" I tried," lied Mr. Carter. "I went right into her door, but it was impossible. An inferno." Miss Minton swayed. "I'm not the kind of person who faints," she said as the sister moved towards her. But there, she was wrong. So she's fainted. Oh my goodness, what has happened to Maya? Hopefully we'll find out in chapter 20. Hopefully everything's okay. We are near the end of the book, so hopefully nothing too dreadful has happened. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I will catch up with you all soon. See you soon.